Kia ora tātou, no mai hoki mai ki Tuku Talks, a podcast where we pretty much talk about anything rangatahi want to talk about. I am one of your hosts, Tudia Schmidt-Pike.
I'm your other host, Janae Henry, and we are coming to you live from a car park. So you might hear cars parking, you might hear horns, it's all good, go with it.
And today we are joined by a special guest. He wears many, many hats. You might have recognised him from a lot of places. Also the best morning breakfast show on radio at the moment. And we have here Brook, Ruscoe.
Thank you guys, nailed that by the way. Really, really good. Thank you guys for having me. This is awesome. I love this. I've never done anything like this before, so this is really, really cool.
Hey, it's way better than being in a warm studio.
Right. I feel like I'm at home here. Got the mink blanket. We're good to roll.
Yes, got some drinks.
Yeah, we're good. No, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, we're talking about media representation today. Let's just
dive into
get into it. What's media representation to you?
If I'm being honest, I'm really fresh in this game of media, I guess. So I'm still trying to soak it all up as well. But I'm not blind as well, because you can walk into some rooms and see that there's a lack of representation as well. So, what is it to me at the moment? It's something that needs work, I guess. It's hard. We talked about this on the show, just like behind the scenes the other day, that sometimes we're like, oh, who do we look to be like, oh, that's where we want to go to, or that's who we want to be. And that was the part for us where we wanted other people to be like, okay, this is the industry that we want to come into. We want to be like these guys as well. But I'm hopeful that it can change, and we're in a time where things can change. We talked about, like, at the moment, it could go like as a pivot, and we're really worried that it could go backwards, or this is the time that it could excel, and, you know, we can just be amazing, and everyone can see how amazing, you know, that we are. But I think there's a real lack of representation in a lot of rooms at the moment. But time for change, and hopefully, you know, there's people before us who have started the change, but hopefully we can keep that thing moving. But
I mean, it's definitely getting better, eh? 2022, we're seeing more faces, more like different, like let's just take Shaun Street for example. Like I see this way different to what Shaun Street had 10 years ago.
100%.
But what do you find, like in radio specifically, like how do you find representation of?
Yeah, low once again. I think radio, because that's like obviously the thing that I see every day, right? 9 to 5, or we don't work 9 to 5.
Yeah. You guys got way easier hours than that.
I was like, oh, 9 to 5, that's ages.
But in radio, that's where I see a real lack, you know, because like, I'm just going to be honest, like in our umbrella of media works, when we look outside our window, you just don't see many people that look like us.
We see your Instagram stories. We see the people there. I'm like, oh,
right.
Parnell.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice place to go and work, I'll be honest with you with that. But I just think that I'll just like broadly say, like as an umbrella,
we're not speaking for everyone, Parnell.
We are extremely talented. But then also at the same time, I think a lot of us who are extremely talented also a little bit whakamā just to get out there and actually put yourself out there. But I talk to Tegan a lot about this, and Tegan I do the show with. It's
Shout
hard for her. Yeah,
big fan of hers.
Yeah, Tegan's awesome.
Ngāti Kuri.
But we also, there's a lack of female in there as well. Like there's a bunch of guys, left, right and centre you look, there's a bunch of guys there, but if you want to get like a little bit deeper into it, there's a real lack of our queens out there too. So like,
I feel like that's kind of like, but I mean, can I say this? Like that's been the MAI formula, the two guys and the pretty sis.
I think that's a radio formula.
Oh
it's
yeah,
always
actually,
been
that's
a
across,
radio formula, and it's always been a guy that's the anchor as well. So there's a couple of stations at the moment. So George, for example, I'm not really supposed to probably talk about them, but they're doing great things. They've got like a female anchor, which I think is amazing on their drive show. And she's really good. Like she's so talented, and it's so nice to hear her. She's bubbly. Her name's Sin. She comes out of all the breaks, and she runs the cutter for them. But it's real awesome to see, you know, something like that. And like I said, I'm new to radio, so I'm still trying to work this whole thing out at the same time. But it does seem like there's a formula that, you know, that is in place.
If you want to see more wahine in radio, would you be willing to quit your job so Turia could take your place that?
Yeah, I see, you just nailed it. You get out there, like, honestly, I think
But would you quit your job?
Yeah, for you, For you, yeah, I would.
Well, that's on the record now, so...
Did you get that? It's on the record now.
I'm free in August.
Turia, congrats!
You'll be so amazing, though.
Mahuru Māori, ma.
What about you guys? What do you guys think about it? Like, if I throw the question back to you guys, obviously you guys are amazing doing this. Like, it's you two running the cutter here as well, and it's awesome to see you guys running this podcast. But in terms of representation for you guys, what do you guys think?
Oh, I mean, like if I'm going to talk about film and TV, I like to see representation behind the scenes as well.
Yep.
Like if you're going to make a Māori movie, whānau, let's get that Māori director, you know, let's put people in place, because when you're filming something, especially cultural stories, you kind of just have to have at least base knowledge of those things, so you understand the story, so you can add, take out things. So I think that really needs to be, and you know, we're the minority. We should be represented. We're not getting all the movies. Sure, come on, like you know, like Fina. I worked on it, but I felt like there should have been a bit more representation, especially in the higher up people. I mean, I'm not going to say more because I'll probably never get a job with like people like Greenstone again.
You got my film in August.
Yeah, I do. So yeah, that's my take on it. I mean, I love to see more, but I see it's building. It's definitely getting better. I still think that we've got a long way to go. You know, the stories I'm kind of working with are the gang. We're still in the gang stories with the Māoris, aren't we, whānau? Hey, I've been in two. I haven't been in much, but yeah. And I feel like that, you know, people ask me, why do you do those? I'm only doing them so my niece don't have to do them in another 10 years, eh? You know, they're stepping stones. But that's me on representation. Over to you.
You popped all the way off. I love that.
Yeah, I know, I have to be careful.
I run around in like stand-up comedy circles, and those are beige. They are very white and very men. I've done stand-up comedy for 6 years, and for the first time this year, it was my first ever gig with another Māori wahine for the first time in 6 years. And I gig a lot, so like that's bleak. But I did start off down in Poneke, and there,
shout out.
Every time I was on stage, Wellington would be like, a Māori person, like down there, this is like as dark as it was getting on stage, which is bleak, because for the podcast whānau who can't see me, very pale, don't see the sun a lot, like it's not good. It's been better since I've been in Tamaki. There's been like a bit more diversity, but yeah, it's still trying to get people through the doors, but there's heaps of barriers as well, because the audience coming out to see it, the spaces we're in are predominantly white. So that's a weird dynamic as well, because the stories you tell are different. Like the jokes I'd let brown people laugh at aren't jokes I want to let white people laugh at.
Right.
It's more work.
Does it hit different, like if you're in Wellington or Auckland?
Straight up, it hits way different. I think Wellington are like working really hard to be politically correct. Right. So I walk out and I'm like, I'm Māori, and they're like, yes, queen, like they're really there for it. But I get weird heckles all the time. Like most people get normal heckles, girls, they'll be like, you're ugly or whatever, like normal heckle. But I get like, teach us to reo Māori. Like I get weird.
Pukana!
Straight up.
Give us a pukana!
My heckles are weird. So that's probably like one of the key differences. And also, you'll make a friend with like a white guy backstage, and then he'll go out and do a racist set, and you're like, what?
Who's that person I just met?
Ryan, get back here.
Get back here. I saw someone did like, a white guy did like an ironic haka on stage once as a joke. And I was backstage and I had to go on after him. And I was like, I just had to acknowledge it. I was like, oh, that was shit. Like,
100%.
Who booked that guy? Like, I just was like, I can't let that
But that's
fly.
what the representation is out there, eh? Like, that's what it is.
But then I was just like, but you as an audience laughed at it too. So you're the problem too. Yeah, I'm like, turn the lights on. Turn the lights on.
I find it interesting that you're saying there are not many like brown faces in comedy, because you know.
We're so funny.
Hey, like, honestly, I'm like, that surprised me. Now we got more coming out.
It's definitely getting better, and instead of waiting for those spaces to be ready for us, we've just started making our own spaces, which feels so much nicer. Like anytime you see someone else who looks like you in a green room, it makes so much difference. You're immediately like
a bit more comfortable, eh? Even when you see it on screen, you hear it on radio, you hear brown voices, see brown faces, you know, you're like, I can get there.
Is that because we're scared to get out there and get...
I think some of it is a culture one, like, you know, like Māoris, like noho whakaiti, e kore te kumara, e kore mo tōna ke reka, and islanders, you know, they're representing their family, their ainga, you know, all of that kind of buzz. I think a lot of reputation go on brown whānaus, and legacy kind of things that come from your, you know, when you go out, you're not just speaking for yourself, you're speaking for your nan, whānau back in Samoa.
And they're listening too.
Yeah.
They're all
you know, so
listening.
it's like not so much pressure, but that's like the responsibility you're holding when you're representing. So, you know, like as much as we want to go out there and, you know, I would love to just give my thoughts on everything, quite opinionated, but better not, you know, for those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I think we need to get over that. Otherwise, that's why we're not getting the jobs, whānau.
Well, I think about that kumara whakatauki all the time, like the kumara not knowing its own sweetness.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's straight up true in so many spaces. But if you're in like a media space that's predominantly people who don't look like you, everyone in the room's going to be telling you you're a potato. Like, they're going to be telling you you're the riwai. So you kind of have to be like, maybe I could be a kumara.
Hey, don't be the sweetest kumara.
Like, did you want to be a stand-up for ages, but you just didn't do it because you were shy, or you're like, nah, I want to do this? And
I didn't even really know I wanted to do it. I watched one gig and I was like, that looks easy.
Easy.
Yeah, then my friends are like, prove it, and I did.
Like,
but honestly, it's all good because like brown people are funny. It's the formula's all there, but I do think having spaces that are built for us would be better instead of us going into like a pretty white system. You know, like when the audience is white, everyone's white. But I also wondered with like media representation, because obviously like you're on the radio, so like you're out there doing it. But behind the scenes and the higher ups, is there diversity up the chain, or is it just?
Well, that's probably what you think. There's a lot of the same people up there. But what I will say is like I'm extremely lucky as well at the moment because we've got a brand new HR person at work. We've got a brand new boss at work, like a big boss, and they seem very, very understanding and welcoming. We've had three big meetings with just like our morning crew, just talking about, actually we're talking about this, which is like a surprise to us because we've never had the opportunity to talk about something like that before, or even have somebody, and it didn't even feel like lip service, like we were genuinely there and they wanted to know more.
They actually wanted to hear you.
Yeah, they wanted to know like the background of MAI FM, where they think MAI FM can go, and we told them that MAI FM's like a feeling, it's a culture, it's like a family. Yeah. And they were like, oh, what? Yeah, they had no idea, but they knew. But the fact that they came in and they were willing and open, so I don't want to just chuck it out there and be like, nah, it's not, it's always just one way. Yeah. Like the new boss that we have, he was the old CEO of Air New Zealand, and he's brought in their new HR, and I was a little bit skeptical at the start. Yeah. I just thought Air New Zealand, nah, they run one way, that is what it is. But shout out if you want Air New Zealand, like I'm here for you.
Is Christopher Luxon your boss now? Like what's happening?
So, basically Christopher Luxon before, like he was before Christopher Luxon. But he's been amazing. Yeah, but I'll go on record and say that he has been amazing. He's asked heaps of questions. Yeah. But yeah, the big one for me was I didn't feel like we've walked out of all three of those, and it didn't feel like lip service. He genuinely wanted to know how we felt, what it was like to be us, where we can go, how they can help us, and what steps we need to take. Because like as we were talking about before, I think MAI FM's at a real moment too, where it's we could either stay as we are, or we can kind of ramp it up, and we want to be in more markets. We want to get into.
I love it. He's playing the Māori songs.
But it's not. Well, our station's going really well at the moment, so other stations have jumped on board and be like, well, they're working over there. What are they doing? And but you know, it's awesome because we hear like I'll flip over to ZM or something, and they're playing like a real song, and I'm like,
this is cool.
The hell,
you're like we started that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like our boss being all willing that he is. We can run, but as I said, like everyone's real tired at the moment. Like we're in the middle of 2022. It's been COVID, and we told him like it's been hard for us because like who's not tired at the moment, you know? Yeah. But at the same time, when he was telling us all these things, I also said on behalf of the guys, like we're fizzing at the moment because we feel like we can explode. Like I don't know, maybe it's bad analogy, but like we just feel like a Coke bottle, and he could just drop that Mentos in and we could just explode at the moment. You know what I mean? Like we're so excited and we're so ready. Yeah. So I think that's exciting too. Like the fact that everyone is, you know, tired for lack of better words, but everyone's tired, but we are also so excited and so ready. But if everything falls into place and you know everything that we've said actually takes action, like it's exciting to see hopefully that we can just go like that, and then everyone else can jump on board too.
So we've talked about like your representation in radio, but you've also you do TV with Te Ao and Māori Television, but I'm sure you do other things, and you have over the years.
So I had this like it's been like a journey to get, I guess.
And you played basketball too. I just chucked that in. Like what is?
Saw that on the gram.
Chuck that in there. It's been a journey to get, like, I guess, to sit in this car right now and talk with you guys. Like, it's been
and this is the top.
You've made it. You've just made it.
Right now. Like,
this is it.
After this, I'm signing out. It's my mic drop moment. But yeah, it's been a journey to get here. I was, like, once I finished playing basketball, I had this real weird, bad injury. But there was this period where I was like, man, I really don't know what I'm going to do. And I was the same as so many other people. You just put all your eggs in one basket and you kind of just hope for the best. And then I was like, shit. Oh, sorry.
No, you can say that.
Oh, yeah. There was a period there where I was like, man, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And I got so lucky. There was a lovely lady at the time, and I don't know if anyone knows it, but her name was Jodie Hawane. And she was at Māori TV. And I don't know how I got in contact with her, but I had just finished playing basketball. And I had a meeting with her once, and she was like, you know what? Just come and learn. So I was literally I was on the auto queue. Actually, I wasn't even on the auto queue. I was watching people auto queue. I was a runner.
That's how you get into it,
legit, I was in it all. I was watching this Ray, who's still there, and he's like the greatest floor manager I've probably ever seen.
Oh, Ray Samuel.
Yeah, so it's weird now that I'm doing the show on Te Aotoa, and he's
still there.
He's still there, but he took me in, and
he's the man.
Yeah, so I had like maybe a year period there when when Māori TV was at
Newmarket.
Just down the road in Newmarket. So yeah, I've been doing it for a while, and it's just been a journey to, I guess, get to where we are today. But there was a point there where it was a bit bleak, like how you said before. I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing now. Basketball finished, and that paycheck stopped coming in. I was like, oh, it could be a trouble here. But yeah, it took me in, and now it's so.
Sorry about the sirens, but no.
Makes it real though. I like it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at Yeah, so now Te Aotoa, and I'm with Sky Sport now, which is awesome.
You're doing commentating.
Yeah, commentating with that. So yeah, jumped on board with Crowd Goes Wild too, so that's cool. I've always been a big fan of Crowd Goes Wild, so jumped on board with them.
That's a MAI show, eh?
Yeah, it's a sports show, but it used to be every single
MAI
night.
show, yeah, my dad watches it.
Yeah, so it used to be every night, but now it's only on Mondays and Thursdays. But I always said this thing about Crowd Goes Wild. I loved it and jumped on board with them recently too. So.
Oh, you're making your dreams happen.
Yeah.
Busy? Yeah, it's busy. It's cool. I had this, I don't know, maybe I manifested it, but Andrew Mulligan, like 10 years ago, I just had this, I was a big fan of his. He was just doing so much and he was handling so many pies. And I had a chat with him, and I didn't really know what I wanted to get out of the chat. He was just a really big fan of basketball, and he was like, yeah, sweet, it's all good. Like, let's, and it was weird. He didn't say anything. I just kind of, he was almost my therapist, and I was just talking to him.
Hey, can I get a quick mentor workshop with you?
Yeah.
Give me the knowledge.
Yeah, that was what I was hoping for, but he didn't really say anything. But I kind of like was talking through everything that I was hoping to get, and it's weird that like now I am on Sky Sport with him doing everything that we kind of talked about. So it's gone full circle, and to be here now is pretty cool. But at the time, like I was shooting bricks at it. I was like, well, I don't know what's going to come next. You know, I always thought I was going to NBA, and that didn't happen. I was like, oh shit, oh no.
You said you had a weird injury.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it like a groin one? I thought it was a groin one. I was like groin.
Nah, so I went to America. So I finished, like when I finished school here, the big thing is like you go to America and you play college over there and you get a scholarship over there. So I did that, and while I was in the States, it's quite a common basketball injury, but it's just like the ball and socket in my hip. It was just because it's a wear and tear. You're changing angles and you're jumping so much. It just like flattened out, so it was just bone rubbing on bone the whole time. So I was in the States and I had to come home and I had to get it cleaned up. Which like it's just but it's keyhole surgery, but the surgery itself went terribly. So the surgery, so I came all the way back home to have the surgery because I was like, I'd rather be comfortable and have the surgery and then go back to the States.
Not in America.
Yeah, there's something about it. I wish I had it in the States now though, but it might have worked out well because, you know, it's all worked out. But I had this surgery, and the surgeon who did the surgery, I remember his name because it's just everything changed after that.
Don't say it.
His name's John and he's from Christchurch. I'll start with that though. Yeah, I'll give him that much.
John from Christchurch, enemy number one on our podcast.
Oi, yes, he is.
Yeah,
and he still won't talk to me to this day. I've tried to reach out to him a couple of times just to be like, oi.
Show up to yourself.
Yeah, so he was doing the surgery, and a piece of the drill that he was using is snapped off. But he left the piece in my hip.
Why?
Oh my God.
But he didn't tell anyone. That was the part. So like the piece, like, oh, where's my phone? And like, sorry,
is he still practicing medicine?
Still practicing now, like to this day, because he's covered on ACC.
Right. You need to go see Meredith.
Dreamy, where you at?
Hey.
So a piece of the drill snapped off in my hip, and he left it there.
Up on your phone right
I'm
now?
going to show you. I'm going to show you what it is as we talk through it. But he didn't tell anyone. He wrote it in his post-op notes, but you wouldn't like. if you're not a doctor, you wouldn't know. It wasn't like, might as well be in Chinese, you know what I mean?
I left the middle piece
It
in
wasn't
the
that,
place.
you know what I mean? And he didn't tell anyone. He didn't tell, he didn't tell anyone. So it was, I went back and played basketball, and I kept playing basketball, but it just got so sore. I was with
Frick.
the Cairns Taipans at the time.
Yeah.
So it's like the same league as the Breakers, but one of the Aussie teams. And I was over there, and that season came to an end, and me and the coach, we just, you know, it was the best thing at the time to do, to just like call it a day, you know? Which was real hard, but in my mind, mentally, I was sweet, because I was like, I've done everything that I possibly could have done rehab-wise. I always wanted to play for the Tall Blacks, so that was a big one, and I still managed to play for the Tall Blacks for a little bit, which was awesome. But yeah, no physio that I had over that, I think it was 8 or 9 years from the surgery to when I went and saw my chiropractor, and she was like, oh, now maybe go get an x-ray. No one ever said go and get an x-ray. So we never ever knew that
Were
there
you
was...
like setting off metal detectors? Like, what was happening?
Yeah, set it off every single
my
time. And now it's even
gosh.
bloody worse, because now I don't have a hip replacement. I've got a Birmingham hip, which is...
I'm
here
loving
we go.
this.
Yeah, I got a Birmingham hip, which is like a seal
Oh, your
over
injury,
my...
sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, love that.
I've got a seal over my hip. It's like in layman's terms, that's like the easiest way to put it. It's like a metal seal over my hip to protect it. It's not a hip replacement, thank God, but at some point I'm gonna have to get it. Are you guys okay with like...
Yeah. Well, we'll
gruesome
find
things?
out. We'll find out. I don't know.
It's squeamish, I'm not gonna
Okay,
lie.
I'll start
but
with
let's
like
go,
this.
I've already started it.
That part there is like
no,
the piece
X-rays
that
are
he
good.
left.
Whoa, you tell your grandkids that's a bullet. Tell them.
So I got a
Tell
limp.
them.
That's why I
Yeah.
got a
So
limp.
what we're
You know,
saying,
Papa.
for those on the
That's a
potty,
bullet.
Yeah, sorry, because I know this
Oh,
is
yeah.
right,
not
it's
very
like
visual.
it's an X-ray of a hip
Yeah.
with a piece of metal in it.
There's a middle.
Okay, and then the next
bone.
one's gonna be the one of like the actual,
Yeah.
it's like that.
Oh
Okay, I don't think
I can't look. I'm sorry. I am squeamish. Yeah.
Yeah, so that piece is like left in my
Is
hip.
it in your?
No, it's out now.
Okay, so what we're seeing is sort of like a fleshy,
Yes.
it's sort of,
It's my hip wide open, so there's like the surgery, so it's like they've cut me open, and they had to dislocate my hip, and they popped it out, and then they got that part because it had made its way all the way around.
that's the most nude you could ever see of someone, the inside of a hip.
I know, and then that's the piece of drill there. So I'm showing the, sorry,
Okay,
for
it's
the
a
podcast
small
now.
piece of, it's a small piece of drill, but undoubtedly not something you'd want in your body.
I'm seeing it right now. My FM Shauna Street crossover. Brook gets his hip fixed by
Just wonder
Dr.
where you're at.
Warner.
No, bring back
Bill
Siobhan.
Esther
Where's
for the
Siobhan? Is she still in
representation.
there? Is Siobhan still in there?
Who's
Is she- Siobhan on Shortland Street. Is she still on Shortland Street?
Is that
Oh,
like?
she
So why do I
gone?
get it? Roy Matausi, who died when I was in like high
Oh,
school.
did she die?
Yeah, like
Oh.
ages ago.
What about Ola?
Shit.
Bring back Ola.
Yeah.
Bring back
Yes.
Frankie.
Oh, there's a car coming. I want to talk more about the responsibilities we as individuals have, or people, brown people as a collective. Like, what kind of? Do you think we have a responsibility? I mean, I think we do.
Yeah, I think you nailed it before
What
when
does
you
it
said
look
like we're doing this now so people don't have to do it as much. You know, the next cycle they come through, right? So absolutely, I think there's a responsibility. Whether I like speak for myself at the moment, but whether I get it right every time, different answer and different question probably. But I think one thing that I can sleep at night saying is that I tried. You know, like I tried, and my heart. I think I can sleep easy at night knowing that my heart was never in the wrong place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we don't always get it right, and especially like in radio, because you have to come up with so much content.
Oi.
It's like, you know,
And you got no props or anything to.
nah,
rely on?
nothing. So it's quite hard. That's like that is one part that I find quite hard, is that you can't leave your job at work. Like you can't walk out and you're just like, oh, okay, day's done. You walk out and you're kind of like, okay, how do I make this content? Like even doing this right now, you're like, how can I make this podcast, you know, some type of content? And it's never ever going to be it's going to be everything, but you kind of never sleep with just nothing. You know, you're always just thinking about like, I had a dream once, and that was like, oh my God, that's content tomorrow. So it's literally like you're doing it the whole time. But
Yeah.
I do 100% think that we have a responsibility, because we want to keep growing, and we want to keep, I guess, quote unquote, succeeding, I guess maybe is the word. But yeah, long answer short, I think so, yes.
I even think we have a responsibility to bring like our tainers up. Like I think if we're in good positions, I think we have a responsibility to bring other people up, whether it's our whānau friends or just anyone. You know, when you're climbing the ladder, put the arm down.
Yeah.
Lift as you go. Hey. What about you? Yeah?
Yeah, hada. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, you're like, yes,
there's like
definitely.
a huge, like, not, it doesn't feel like a burden because it's getting more people through the door makes it easier for us too. So but I'm not the like final look of what comedy could be. Like, I really hope that by the time I die, I'm just a stepping stone, like on the way to what it's going to be. That's the hope. But yeah, I definitely think there is a responsibility. But then you also, where I sort of trip up is I'm like, but am I bringing people into spaces that they're ready for? Because I don't want to bring someone in and accidentally set them up to fail.
Do you hold some of your jokes?
Pardon?
Do you not say jokes, or do you hold some of your jokes because you're worried about it? I feel like in the comedian circle, you guys there's a
There's like a
responsibility.
line and you're like, oh, don't share that one.
There's almost a responsibility for you guys to say what a lot of, I guess, us want to say, if that makes sense. There's almost like a room that is, like, if you walk,
articulated great.
yeah,
In a
there's
great
something
way.
about comedians where you guys do it so well.
It depends what room I'm in and who's listening, because the gigs that I'm doing like out south are different to the gigs that I do central.
Right.
I'm more filtered probably central, but if you're like the only Māori in a room, it does feel like there's a responsibility to bring some of that perspective to your like content and your work. Whereas if everyone's brown on the lineup, I'm like, oh sweet, someone else will like
Yeah.
cover that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be funny.
Yeah, but I do think definitely like getting more people through the door has always been really important, but I've been like getting asked by various associations to be a mentor from like really early on. I was like, I need mentoring. Like I'm not, but then you look around, you're like, oh, I guess no one else is out here, so I'll do what I can.
I feel that. I'm still trying to learn this on the go and on the fly as well, and I feel like I just don't want to lead them astray and say something that is not right at all. I just overthink it probably a whole lot, but I feel the same about that too.
Nah, I'm sure you got heaps, man. I feel like everyone has a kete and they go on in their life and they're putting it in, and you know, you still got heaps to fill, but what's already on your kete, the brothers and the sisters down there need it.
I hope so. I hope so.
That's
I
a
think I'm
terrible
an overthinker
analogy.
too, though, because I was saying before, like I'm a Virgo, so we overthink everything, like
Yeah.
OCD and overthinkers. So I think I overthink it. It probably, like I said just before, like my heart is in the right place where the execution goes the same way.
Yeah.
That's damn, have I got that right? It's like that.
Yeah.
It's a good like jumping off platform to talk about. Do you feel that there's like an audience expectation of you or nah?
Yes, but what has changed as I've got older and maybe as I've had my son is that it's become easier to be myself. In radio, as I was starting, I always would say what I thought people wanted me to hear instead of actually just being myself, and then the execution actually of what I'm trying to get across actually comes across and it's right.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to be yourself, it's so hard to be someone else. And I struggled through my first like 2 or 3 years on radio because I was always trying to be someone else and also trying to make sure that what I was saying was what people wanted to hear. But if I can just say it how I want to say it or say how I'm feeling, the message gets across way cleaner, way tidier, and once again I can sleep easier at night being like, it might not be right, but that's genuinely how I felt, as opposed to that was right, but that wasn't from me. I heard someone else say this, so I just kind of took that along and then I said it like that, but I didn't mean that. So that, yeah, 100%, but I know that for myself it's become easier, and I think it's with my son because now that just seems to be the only thing that matters. I'm like, if the thing for me was, one day I got home and we had a really bad show, but he was there and he was just all like giddy, and he doesn't care about any of that, like he doesn't know about anything else. So the only thing that matters for me now is like I get to go home and hopefully be the best dad that I can be. And if I make him happy and I'm being the best dad for him, then I'm like, oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
And then that made everything on radio somehow was just like a light bulb, or you know, anything that I'm doing easier, because I was like, at the end of the day, if I'm happy and he's happy, then hopefully the message that I'm trying to get across is not going to be for everyone, but it's from me, so I'm sweet.
It's buzzy you said that because I kind of feel the opposite. I feel like when I was younger, I was just out here saying whatever I wanted to say, doing whatever I wanted, because I'm quite opinionated and I'm a little bit out the gate, but I just share my thoughts. And now getting older, I feel like I have to not be Turia, but I feel like Turia needs to be caged a little bit, and I think that's more on like of what I think the audience is going to take people as a Māori or as a Samoan. Like I'm more conscious of that. I think just because I'm
Do you
more.
worry for feedback?
not worried for feedback, more like, honestly, I always like imagine, it's just, like if there's a news article, it's just like, Māori actress from Māori bilingual drama Ahikarua has been found doing illegal things.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
that I do illegal things.
What have you been found
but,
doing?
you know,
What is it?
you know, it's just like,
I'm very open and honest here.
these are just things, you know, no judgment passed. No, but you know, so now I feel like there's more, and I think that also goes back to like representation and responsibility, like
Yeah.
it's all kind of there.
You don't want to ruin it.
Nah,
Yeah.
I just don't want, I don't want to be the reason why anyone looks at my people in any kind of negative light.
Yeah.
But you know, at
And
the
if there
same
was
time,
more
it's
of
just,
you-
hey, stop stressing out about being someone else. Do you feel like the audience expects,
Yeah, there's expectation from an audience.
especially in comedy, I think, like they just like, be funny, be politics, like, you know, give some politics.
I never promise I'm going to be funny, which is like kind of hectic.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I will talk. I will talk into a microphone.
You may laugh, who knows?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You actually can't please anyone or everyone in comedy. And the more you try and make everyone laugh, the less anyone's gonna laugh. It's real buzzy.
Yeah.
So you just have to be like, I reckon this is funny. Like,
Hopefully you do too.
I just clear everything I talk about on stage. Basically, I clear it with my parents. Like, I call them and I'm like, I'm gonna talk about this, just because I'm like, I don't care really. Like, the audience can take what they take, but as long as I can always like go back home
Yeah.
and still be loud,
Yeah.
I don't care. But my parents do love me unconditionally, so I feel like I could really say anything. But it's been embarrassing sometimes, like on a drive to a gig, I've been like, I went on this date and this is what happened, I'm going to talk about it. Like, I just am like warning
You
them.
tell your
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah, but like dad and mum, I'm like, I
Ruscoe.
went on a date, it went badly.
It's really hard to get to that point though. Like I didn't know that I was trying to get to that point until I had my son, and that's when the light bulb came
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Before that, it was like chasing. But it sounds like you're comfortable to get to that point. But it took me forever to actually be like, oh, well, hold on a second.
I'm still finding the way there.
But I'm
Fano.
understanding. Like, I have so much empathy and understanding of where you're sitting at the moment as well, because there's that
Yeah.
on your shoulders the whole time. Like,
But it's also just saying that's in my own head too, eh? Like a
Yeah.
little bit, like everyone just needs to kick back, but all of us give ourselves a break.
it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah,
but
yeah, but we're gonna go home and be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have
You
said
always
that.
say you're out the gate, and I'm like, I think you're the perfect distance from the gate. Like, I think,
That's a nice way to
think-
put it.
yeah.
Yeah, our big thing on radio is like you want to get to the line because that's entertaining, but for us and because I guess everyone's learning on the go, right? Like it's 2020, and you can't say things now that you could say last year or let alone 10 years ago. So I think the audience is changing, but we're trying to change at the same time, and that's when the imbalance comes for us. It's like, okay, 6 months ago that was okay to say, but now it's not, and we've got this like brouhaha, you know?
And because Gen Z, they woke.
Yeah, like
Like
it's,
my little sister's in Gen Z, and she's like pulling me up, and you shouldn't do that. We
Yeah.
don't do that these days. I'm like, oh.
and there's a lot of people that are ready to roll at the moment, you know, there's just guards up and just ready to scrap. So we're like aware of that, and we don't ever go in there trying to offend anyone, and that's why we want to get to the line so it's entertaining. But there's also that point where like we don't want to cross the line, and that's, you know, there's that grey area in between there somewhere that we're like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay, we crossed it today, sorry. But I think a lot of people as well, like when you do cross the line, it's as easy as just apologising and say, oh, okay, I messed that up, and then
Unless everyone's cancelled you.
yeah, right. And that's when
cancel
it-
culture.
It's a very cancelled, and I think when you double down, especially in today's day and age, when you double down on it,
Yeah.
or you just can't see it, or you don't verbalize it the way you need to get it across,
Yeah.
then it gets real messy as well. So touch wood, like at the moment, we've done a pretty good job of staying out of that, but I know we're one thing away from saying the wrong thing, and
But it's like you
Yeah.
said, like your heart's in the right place, and that's all you can do.
that's where it gets really hard, because
Yeah.
like at no point have we, or like I can't speak on behalf of the other two that I do the show with, but have I ever had like malice in my heart to say something and just go out there and be like, man, these people, or you know, like it's never the way.
Except to John in Christchurch.
Yeah.
That's
John and Christchurch could
Oh,
full
John and
malice.
Christchurch could go. Yeah, besides from John can be kicking the ass, but
I think what's really like sort of been consistent through our whole corridor to me is that we all still have like a lot of hope in
Oh.
where we're heading.
And excitement.
Yeah, like we all are like, it's pretty bleak, but in 10 years it's
Yeah.
gonna be amazing.
very much so. That's what I was saying before. Like we are so excited, and that was probably like the My Morning crew, we're so excited to just like explode. But I think you're right. As a general, like everybody's so excited. Like there is this point right now where you can just drop that Mentos in and see where we can get to, you know, like the sky's the limit, but just just the how.
Yeah.
If you were to go into some other places and productions that I guess maybe people don't look like us, would you feel like a sellout?
Oh, that is a good question.
Or is that the goal?
I have
To sell
I
out.
have, yeah. Well, it's hard. Like I feel when I go, I've actually kind of only walked into like Pākehā sets only last year and this year. Like last year June was the first time ever when I done the Shaun Street web series, and I turned into an introvert straight away.
Really? Yeah.
Nah. I was outside on my phone, and that's just, I think that's just me and my own. Like everyone was lovely, professional, awesome as.
Yeah.
I just think. Yeah, I couldn't, and the fact that I was doing a gangster story, you know, I was a little bit like, damn, like, yeah, I was like, damn, this is how I get my foot in the door. But I had to get out of that and tell myself, like, this is your foot in the door, so in 10 years' time, it's not, you know.
I hear that.
Like, you know, and because I've had whānau actually hit me up, love their honesty, and just kind of not like, they weren't disappointed, but they were questioning why I would even want to go to a media production, a mainstream kind of one. And I even hate the word mainstream, that they're the mainstream, you know. Just kind of like, yeah, they didn't understand why I wouldn't just stick to the Māori and pump the Māori. But I was like, in order for us to, my big thing is I want to normalise te reo Māori and te ao Māori. So to do that, I have to get into the Pākehā world. Like, the Māoris already know what the Māoris are up to.
Yeah.
I was like, I want the Pākehās to know how good the Māori stories are, you know. So yeah, there's a lot. I get very hunty on.
Nah, and fair
these,
enough.
Pake. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was just a question for me. Eh?
Being young in stand-up comedy's been pretty easy, to be honest.
Cool.
Like, pretty easy. When I started, I was 19, and sometimes it felt scary, like, for your safety, because some of the, like, comedy watchers are, like, weird men.
Oh,
yeah.
I want to come to one now. I want to sit next to them and be like,
yeah.
you're the weird man.
Oi, straight up. But now it's like pretty easy. I think people are really excited in like the theatre space about emerging new artists.
Awesome.
And then it's like once you've emerged, then it's like, where do I go? But I'm still emerging, so it's been pretty chill being young. Like a whānau, I don't have kids, so I can gig whenever. Like the actual practicalities.
Well, you wait till those kids pop by. You can't do much after that. It's a wrap after that.
Well, yeah. Like the practicalities of like being young and in a city means it's pretty easy for me to like gig late at night. Like I'm not putting anyone to bed, like just myself. So yeah, it's been easy for me.
Enjoy that. I'm gonna be, as the parent, enjoy that. It's the ish when you don't.
How old's your baby?
7 months now.
Yeah. Oh, solid stage. You can start chucking.
Yeah, we throwing him around. His mum, mum babies him a little bit, and I'm like, relax with him, he's 7 months. I'm like, nah, straight, he's 7 months, he's all right. Throw him around, but he's a real boy, like just fidgety, but that does make it hard as well. Like, I didn't understand how hard parenting was until obviously became a parent. But it's just
especially in these industries, I don't know how parents do it.
You just live in like a state of just being tired the whole time. I've never been so tired in my life. Like it's actually, like he doesn't sleep at night. He's teething now, and then learning how to wake up at 4 o'clock every morning, and then doing things outside of this as well, and then obviously wanting to come home and be the best dad you can be. Like, woo!
Well, I mean, it's changing now. It's 2022. Māori stories. Like, what is a Māori story to you? And you can talk to it to radio, TV, whatever kind of representation you want.
You had a really good point when you were talking about it earlier about just having people when you're going to tell these stories, especially I guess productions and big companies, to actually have people in there who have walked the walk and talked the talk. You know, I think we're real feeling people. You know what I mean? Like you can feel things, you understand things, and if it's someone else telling you a story, it just feels a little bit empty, right?
Yeah.
So if you can get the right people to tell the right stories, or let like our people tell our stories, like it might have been actually their story, I think it's going to go a long way. But at the same time, like a lot of the money that we've talked about before, these monetary values and the revenue that comes with it, a lot of the time our people don't have the production companies or the third-party sponsors to be able to tell our stories with this big, unless it's Taika at the moment, you know, like I love Taika to death and he's amazing, but how do we have heaps of Taikas to tell all of our stories? So I think you made a really, really, really good point earlier, how you just about, let's get our people to tell our stories. I think that will go a long, long way because we can tell it better than anyone else. And that goes for any other culture as well. Like We don't need to be telling other people's story. Not we don't need to be, but like they could tell their story better than we could tell their story. So I'm not saying it's just like that goes for everyone. I think you made a really good point with it.
Yeah, I feel that. I don't, like if an audition comes in, like to audition for Hawaiian, I just like really want that part because I need some money, but it just feels like not right.
Yeah, there's a
you
feeling,
know,
right?
Like, I'm like, but you got heaps of Hawaiians.
Yeah.
You see, like, why are you ringing New Zealand for the Māoris and brown
100%.
faces that you guys send out to all the casting networks?
100%.
Like, you know, yeah.
I'm big on the whole feeling thing, and we talked about that at MAI as well. But yeah, it's such a feeling thing, and I think if we can get the feeling right, then I don't know if that's maybe the right answer, but I thought you made a really good point with it.
I also think like, since we're on the subject, I also think that there's some of all of us that need to maybe, even though you're Māori, doesn't necessarily mean that's your story or you should push that story, you know, like if it's, like if you're talking about someone from like Ngāpuhi and you're from Waikato,
maybe leave it.
Maybe that's not yours. Like as much as you're Māori, you're not the same, you know, there's still that. Like,
and it's probably the same thing like we're talking about before, like you're probably, your heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'd rather tell the story instead of, you know, someone else coming in, and then it's not Ngāpuhi telling the story. But how do we get Ngāpuhi to tell the story in the first place? I completely understand.
But I just think it's more organic. There's more love in it when it's made by the own people, you know, their own stories.
Well, you're the storyteller.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes in writers' rooms, like building stories, and that'll happen. Like they'll bring me into a writers' room, I won't know what the kaupapa is, and they'll be like, "This show is about a girl who went to a kura kaupapa," and I'm like, "I can't write that because that's not my story."
Yeah.
I think people, like even in our spaces, maybe need to feel a bit more empowered to say like, I actually can't do that. Here's someone who can. Like, it's not just your job to walk away, it's also your job to be like, uplift the people you know who would be awesome at that. You're like, they're not technically like a writer, but who cares? We can all tell stories. And they've lived that. So like, they'll be sweet.
And that goes in hand with you talking before about like, you're here, but bring your hand down, bring
it's
everyone else up, right?
It's like
this whole thing is
circle,
like that,
it's just
right?
all...
I think the like metaphor I use for like Pākehā people who don't fully get how different every iwi is, I'm like, you know how like in England they all have different accents, like in different parts?
Do they?
Yeah. Like they,
Geordie Shore.
exactly. Love Island, they might sound a bit different. I'm like, it's literally like that in
100%.
like Te Ao Māori. Different iwis have such different tikanga, different ways of speaking. So like, I can't possibly represent every single...
Oh,
that's a good point.
And when before the Pākehās got here, the wars were amongst the iwis. We went all like, hoa pipono ewe.
Yeah.
That is a good way to put it though. It's like different wines, eh? Like they all taste different, they're all from different places.
Yeah.
Different wine.
What wine would you say your iwi is?
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from the river, the Whanganui River, so I'm Tata Whanganui Paparangis, or Ngāti Toa as well.
Kamate.
Yeah. We.
Actually, no.
I love this wine called Chianti, so I'm going to say we're like a Chianti. It probably doesn't even align in any way, but I'm be like,
I've never heard of that.
it's just like I'm being bougie here, but I went to Italy once and it was there, and I was like, oh, I love it.
Oh.
That's I'm this guy now.
Chianti.
It probably doesn't actually. We're probably not even that at all, but it sounded bougie, so I was like, yeah, we'll go with Chianti.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to come for you, know that when picking that wine, his heart was in the right place.
That's it, right? That's it, 100%. 100%.
See, I want to try it. If you're a wine?
Oh, I couldn't reduce my iwi to a wine. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm not really a wine drinker, and I don't want to say really cheap wine, and that's the only wines I know. So, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I've
I
become
wouldn't
a
give
wine
it to my iwi, but I would say like I'm a Merlot, Like you're like, not sure.
I'm not sure
You know,
about
and
this
then wasted.
one. I'm not sure about this one.
Nice with a bowl of pasta. Anyway, that's us. Thank
Thank
you
you so much for having
very
me.
much, Brooke.
This is amazing. I really like what you guys are doing. This is
You're
awesome.
my fave host on my FM morning show now. Used to be Tegan.
I don't know if we'll have high five anymore, but yeah. Thank you, I'll take that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you guys
thanks so
for having
much.
me. It was amazing. Oh, I thought I spilled water. No, this was awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Well, you were here with me, Tudia Whānau.
You're here with me, Janae Henry.
You're here with me, Brook Ruscoe. Did I do that right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I just jumped in there.
And we say kakite. See you, baby. See ya. Get later. The time doesn't.
This is Kato.
Yeah, I'll recite it anyways. I'm bad with lyrics.